Hello everybody, welcome to Sir Chua's Accounting Lessons PH, and today we will be having a collection of problems involving strategic cost management and financial management. So baka meron po tayong mga lower year level na mga kapatid na kailangan pong mag-prepare for their qualifying examinations, or baka kailangan nyo lamang po ng problems na magkasama ang management accounting at saka financial management. So I think this video is for you. So to start with, please download po yung ating handout. Nasa description box po yung link. Ito po yung problems na gagamitin po natin for today. Parang ano po yata ito. 14 problems all in all. Mula po management accounting hanggang financial management. Sige po, start na po tayo. Let's answer problem number 1. Problem number 1 tells you that the following activity levels based on units and total cost data. So, galing daw po doon sa information na yon, provide the cost function using least squares regression method. So, ang gagawin po natin for problem number 1, so nakalista naman po lahat ng activity in units. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. So, lalagay po natin dito is 4x, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, and 60. Now, binigyan po tayo ng information for total cost. So, ilalagay ko naman po siya, i-express ko as y. So, this is 150, 200, 250, 300, 350, and 400. Okay? Sa ating pong least square regression, ang isa po sa mga kailangan natin for our equations later on is xy. No? So you will be multiplying yung ating pong activity levels at saka po yung total cost. Okay? So medyo matrabaho lang po. So iisa-isahin po natin. 10 times 150, that gives you 1,500. Then do the same for everything. This is 4,000. 7,500, 12,000, 17,500, and lastly, we have 24,000. Okay? And then, ang next naman po natin is, i-generate po natin dito x squared. So, isa-square lang po natin to. 10 times 10, kinalkyo ko pa talaga 100. And then 20 times 20 gives you 400. 30 times 30, I just want to make sure, no? 900. 40 times 40 is 1,600. Sorry for that. 1,600. And then 50 times 50, 2,500. And then 60 times 60. No, 3,600. Tapos kukunin po natin yung kanilang mga summation, no? Yung kanilang mga sum. Para meron po tayong summation of x, summation of y, summation of xy, tsaka summation of x squared. Okay, so summation po natin 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60. This is 210. 150 plus 200 plus 250 plus 300 plus 350 plus 400, that gives you 1,650. 1, 5, 4, 7, 5, 12, 17, 5, 24, 66,500, and then 100, 400, 900, 16, 2536. This gives you 9,100. Okay? So, lahat po ng kailangan natin, naka-ready na po. So, pwede po tayong gumamit nung ating shortcut formula para hindi na po kayo mag-bex A na bex x sa bex squared, no? So, didiretso na po natin. To get your variable cost per unit, this is equals to n multiplied to the summation of xy minus the summation of x multiplied to the summation of y all over n multiplied by the summation of x squared minus the summation of x na siya namang isa-square mo. Magkaiba yun ha. Ito po, n multiplied by the summation of x squared. Thus, ito yung summation of x is square mo siya. Okay? So, using the members of the equation, ilan po ang n natin? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So, we have 6 observations. So, n is 6. Ang summation of xy po natin, ito yung xy. So, summation niya, 66,500. Okay? Minus, ano po yung ating summation of x? Ito pong 210. Okay, and then summation of y po natin, ito pong 1,650 all over, so 6 po uli ito. Summation of x squared po natin, ito pong 9,100 minus summation of x po natin mismo na 210 tapos is square po natin siya. Okay? So let's do the math po. Let's compute for your for both of the numerator and denominator. 6 times 66,500, that gives you 399,000 minus 210 times 1,650, 346,500 all over 6 times 9,100 gives you 54,600, and then 210 squared po natin is 44,100. Okay? So this becomes 399,000 minus 346,500. Numerator po natin 52,500. Denominator po natin 54,600 minus 44,100, 10,500. So 52,500 divided by 10,500, ang ating pong variable cost per unit is 5. So B is equals to 5. Tapos, for A, so, summation of y minus B multiplied by the summation of x over n. Yan. Okay? Ako po tawagin ko yan Abexen para hindi nyo makalimutan, no? So, summation of y po natin is 1,650. So, dito po, 1,650 minus, may b na po tayo, which is 5. Summation of x po natin, 210 all over 6. N po natin is 6 equation. Is 6, ano po tawag dito? Observations, no? So, 1,650, 5 times 210 po. So, 1,050. Diretso ko na po, ma-minus ko dun sa 1,650. So, this is 600. Okay? 600 divided by 6. Diretso ko na lang po siya mathematically, no? So, 600 divided by 6, this is 100. Ang hinihingi po sa inyo sa problem 1 is the cost function using least squares regression. And with that being said, no, meron na po tayong A and B. So, your cost equation for this is total cost is equals to fixed cost of 100 plus, ito po, 5x. So, this is your final answer. And that has been problem number 1. Solve naman po natin problem number 2, absorption variable throughput costing. So, ABC Manufacturing produces and sells a single product. During the current year, the company sold selling price 100. So, facts of the case muna ako, no? Para hindi nakakalito. Okay. Diretso ko lang dito yung problem 2. Okay? So, for problem 2, yan nga po, no? Selling price nyo po ay 100. And then, cost structure. So, direct materials po natin ay 20. Direct labor 15 per unit na po binigay. Hindi na per hour. Variable manufacturing overhead po is 10. And fixed manufacturing overhead is 180,000. Okay, meron pa ba? Selling and administrative expense, variable component is 5. So, VGSA po, variable, general, selling, and administrative expense na 5. Per unit sold po iyan, no? And then, fixed GSA, so fixed GSA po natin is 60,000. Okay? During the year, ABC Manufacturing produced 15,000 units. So, computin na po muna natin yung per unit ng fixed manufacturing overhead mo na nakabase sa production. Okay? So, dahil 180,000 daw po yun, so 180,000 divided by 15,000 units produced, lumalabas po na siya ay 12 per unit. Okay? So, lumalabas po 12 per unit po siya kasi kailangan po natin yan later. Okay? So, there was no beginning inventory pero ang nabenta po is 12,000. So, this is a case where your production is greater than sales. So, we can expect that absorption costing net income would be greater than variable costing net income. Bakit po? Sa absorption costing net income, kapag ka po may ending inventory tayo, the part of your fixed manufacturing overhead is naiiwan pa sa ending inventory. Unlike po sa variable costing net income na lahat ng fixed cost mo outright na deduct na po sa income statement. So, ang hinihingi po sa atin sa number 1, 2, and 3, absorption, variable, and throughput costing. Okay? So, for case number 1, absorption. Okay? So, for absorption po, ganito na po gagawin natin, sales. So, ang sales po natin ay 12,000 units. Selling price of 100. Okay? So, 12,000 units, selling price ng 100, this is 1,200,000. Okay? Minus cost of goods sold. Ang cost of goods sold po natin ay 12,000 times. May materials po tayong 20, may labor po tayong 15, variable overhead na 10, at yung fixed overhead po natin na 12. So, this is 57. Okay? So, 12,000 times 57, this is 684,000. Saan po natin nakuha yung 57 ulit? That is your direct materials of 20, labor of 15, variable manufacturing overhead of 10, and fixed overhead of 12. So, 57. Okay? So, we will get here your gross profit. 1,200,000 minus 684,000, that gives you 516,000. Okay? Minus your operating expenses. For the variable component of your operating expenses, variable GSA is 5. So, you multiply 12,000 units by 5. 60. 60 yan, di ba? 60, and then for the fixed component, ma-minus mo yung fixed GSA mo na 60,000 din. Okay? This is your absorption costing net income. So, 516 minus 60 minus 60, that is 396,000. Okay? Gawin naman natin po yung pangalawa, which is your variable costing. So, sa variable, gagamitin po natin yung variable costing income statement. So, sales po natin, na-compute na po natin ng 1,200,000. Okay? Minus variable cost, 12,000 times. So, ano pong variable cost po natin? Lahat po ng nandito. So, 20 plus 15 plus 10 plus 5, that gives you 50. Okay, so multiply mo ng 50. 12,000 times 50, that gives you 600,000. Okay, so this is your contribution margin. 1,200,000 minus 600, this is 600,000. Okay, minus your fixed cost, lahat po ito diretso outright. Okay, wala na pong splitting na kahit ano. So 180 plus 60, this gives you 240,000. Outright deduction po lahat ng fixed cost. And this is your variable costing net income. So, 600 minus 240, this is 360,000. Okay? Tapos, computein po natin yung ating ending inventory. So, kung meron po tayong 15,000 na produced at 12,000 units ang ating units sold, so meron tayong ending inventory na 3,000. Pagdating po natin sa absorption costing, yung fixed overhead component po niyan nasa inventory pa, hindi pa na i-minus. sa income statement. So, i-multiply ko siya dun sa component na yon na 12. No? So, ito po yung parang na-defer na fixed overhead na hindi pa na-minus sa absorption sa variable na minus na. Okay? So, 3,000 times 12, that gives you 36,000. So, to reconcile, absorption costing net income mo, 396,000. Pero, ito pong fixed overhead na to sa variable costing, mina-minus na diretso. So, i-minus mo rin siya agad, diretso na. Okay? So, this is your fixed overhead in ending inventory. So, ma-minus mo po, 36,000. Okay? And this gives you your variable costing net income. 396 minus 36, nakuha po natin yung 360,000 kahit hindi ka gumawa ng separate na income statement. Tapos kung pabaliktad lang ang analysis mo, pwede mo rin namang gawin yon. Variable costing net income mo, ito po, 360,000. Pero, ang mindset mo, babalik ka ng absorption costing. Pag absorption costing, hindi pa lahat ng fixed overhead ay na-minus. Inventory pa siya. So, you have to re-add your fixed overhead in ending inventory na 36,000. And eventually, you'll get your absorption costing net income of 396,000. Punta naman po tayo sa ating calculation number 3, yung tinatawag po nating throughput costing. Pag sinabi pong throughput costing, ano po ito? Super variable kung tawagin. Direct materials lang po ang ating variable cost. So, try po natin, no? Kasi lahat po magiging outright deduction na. So, ang sales po natin, ganun pa rin po, 1,200,000 minus variable cost mo, which is directly yung materials lang. In this case, yung 20 lang po. Yun na mismo. So, 12,000 times 20. Yun na mismo. So, 12,000 times 20, that gives you 240,000. Okay? So, this is your contribution margin. Huwag niyo po siya tatawaging super contribution margin. So, 1,200,000 minus 240. Okay? 960,000. Dito na ako. Hindi na ako kasya doon. Okay? Tapos, magde-deduct ka ngayon ng lahat ng outright deduction mo. Hindi mo na siya pwedeng tawagin diretso na fixed cost eh, no? Lahat ng outright deductions mo. Okay, so isa-isahin mo ngayon. Kung materials pa lang yung nabawas mo, magbabawas ako ng labor. So, ang direct labor mo ay magkano? Nasa problem po natin, 15. So, nalagay dito 15. Ang tanong, sa produced o sa sold? Ang mindset mo ngayon ay, tinrabaho ng mga tao, hindi lang naman yung 12,000 units na nabenta mo. Ang tinrabaho nila, yung 15,000 units na na-produce, di ba? So, yung labor, dun mo i-relate. Dun sa tinrabaho ng mga tao. Okay? So, 15,000 po ito dapat. Okay? So, 15 times 15 times 15,000 units to 25,000. Okay. Same mindset with your variable manufacturing overhead kasi na-incur natin yung overhead not on selling 12 but by producing 15. Okay? So, variable manufacturing overhead mo din is, ilan yun? 10. 10 times 15,000. So, ito po ay 150. As a variable GSA. Pag variable GSA, OPEX pa rin naman yung nature niyan. Tsaka sinabihan naman tayo na 5 pesos per unit sold. Eh, ang GSA na i-incur mo lang naman yan matched with the revenue, di ba? So, your variable GSA is diretso lang po tayo, 5, pero sa 12,000. Okay? So, 5 times 12,000, that gives you 60,000. Next naman po natin is yung atin pong fixed manufacturing overhead, which is, syempre, na-incur natin yan diretso, 180,000. At yung atin pong fixed GSA na 60. Okay? This is your throughput costing net income. So, 960 minus 225 minus 150 minus 60 minus 180 minus 60. 285,000. Okay, so ang sagot dito, 285,000. Okay, and that has been our solution for problem number 2, absorption variable throughput costing. Let's now move on to problem number 3. So, basahin po muna natin ng konti, no? Yung konteksto ng problem. Squares World Industries, so 5,000 units ang normal sales level. Na kapag ka daw po ganun yung sales level, ang profit margin, pre-tax profit margin to be exact, it's 16%. Pag sinabi mong pre-tax profit margin, ito po yung net income over sales pero kinuha po siya galing sa net income before tax. Okay? And then binigyan pa po tayo ng other info na may input po natin sa ating pong variable costing income statement. We have 3 questions to answer. So, sige po. Ang una po nating magiging approach is ilagay po natin yung variable costing income statement natin. So, for our case here, so ganito po gagawin natin. Ang starting point natin, syempre, sales minus variable cost, CM minus fixed cost, net income before tax, or your operating income. Okay? Tapos, ang sabi sa problem, normal sales level mo daw na 5,000 units. Ang nangyayari daw po dyan is meron kang pre-tax profit margin na 16%. So, ilalagay ko po dito sa net income before tax mo, yung mismong pre-tax profit margin mo na 16%. Okay? So, basahin pa natin yung problem. The firm's cost structure includes fixed overhead cost of 150,000 and fixed GSA of 45. So, ito total ko po yung fixed cost natin. 150,000 plus 45 is a total of 195,000. So, ang fixed cost natin, 195,000. So, fixed na yan. Siyempre, walang magbabago. Okay? At this sales volume, ang income daw is 80,000 before tax. So, pwede ko ilagay dito, representing that 16%, 80,000 before tax yung ating income. So, lalagay ko dito, 80,000. Ikatuwa po ninyo kapag ka sa problem ay may ganitong nangyayari. Na magkatabi po ang whole number at saka percentage. Kasi ano nga po uli yung 16%? Pre-tax profit margin. The ratio between your operating income and sales. Ibig sabihin po, from 100% sales, 16% po nun is your operating income or net income before tax na 80,000. Meaning to say, pag dinivide back ko po itong 80,000 doon sa 16%, makukuha nyo po itong sales na lagi namang nire-represent ng 100%. So, gagawin natin siya para makaakyat po tayo ng sales. So, 80,000 divided by 0.16, 500,000. So, ito po, galing dito sa info na ito, idediretso ko dito, ang sales natin, 500,000. Tapos dapat marunong kayong mag-decode kapag nakakakita na kayo ng ganyang mga bagay. Katulad nito, may sales kang total amount 500,000, galing daw sa 5,000 units. Ano pong pwede natin makuha dito? Ito syempre yung selling price. So 500,000 divided by 5,000 units, ang selling price mo 100. Okay? So coming from this, selling price mo ay 100 pesos per unit. Okay? So, nag-a-analyze pa lang po tayo, wala pa tayo doon sa tanong. The manufacturing process requires 25 pesos direct materials per unit. So, lista natin yung variable cost per unit mo, no? 25. Tapos, 2 direct labor hours per unit, 8 per hour. So, 8 times 2, 16. And then, variable manufacturing overhead is 3. And variable GSA pa po is 1. Okay? So, 25 plus 16 plus 3 plus 1. 45. Okay. So kung ang selling price mo ay 100, ang variable cost per unit mo ay 45, ang CM per unit mo 55. And then from that, makukuha na rin po natin na ang CM ratio mo, 55 divided by 100, may CM ratio kang 55%. Tandaan nyo na yan ha. Hindi na magbabago yan eh. CM ratio mo, 55%. Okay? Ayun. So for number 1, ang tanong, with no changes in the structure of variable cost, ito po yun, and contribution margin, so alam na po natin siya, 55%. How many units shall the entity sell to obtain a net income after 30% tax of 245,000? So ang gagawin natin ay, sulat ka uli, sales minus variable cost, CM minus fixed cost, operating income before tax minus tax, net income after tax. Ang sabi, 245,000 net income after tax. Okay. Tapos, net income after tax po ito, before tax mo muna siya. Okay? So, ang gagawin mo, 245,000 divided by 0.7 pala, no? Kasi before tax mo. So, kung 30% po ito, no? 70% na lang po ito para makabalik ka doon sa 100%. Sorry na lito. So, 245,000 divided by 0.7, that gives you 350,000. So, ilalagay ko dito, 350,000. Na-determine na po natin kanina na ang ating pong fixed cost ay 195,000. So, simply, I will be putting here 195,000. No? Eventually, mawo-work back ko. So, 350 plus 195. May CM ako na 545,000. Okay? Tapos, di ba meron na po tayong CM per unit na 55. So, kung ang CM per unit po natin ay 55, how will you be able to answer number 1? So, for number 1, meron na po tayong total CM na 545,000. I-divide mo sa CM per unit na 55 para makuha po natin yung final answer. Okay? So, 545,000 divided by 55 na CM per unit. Ilang pong units yon? 9,909 units. Okay? Which can be seen in letter B. Okay? Kung mapapansin po ninyo, hindi po ako gumagamit na nung standard formulas natin sa CVP analysis na fixed cost over CM per unit para sagutin yung tanong. Ano po ang technique na ginamit natin para sagutin yung tanong? Paikot-ikot lamang po ako sa mismong variable costing income statement. So dapat po, ganun din po yung technique na marunong kayo at ma-practice po ninyo para ma-sharpen po kayo sa CVP analysis. No? Yung kung paano po magpaikot-ikot dito sa ating pong variable costing income statement. Sige po, diretso po tayo number 2. So for number 2, ang tanong naman po sa inyo, with the budgeted sales level of 11,000 units, what would be the margin of safety ratio? Okay? Dalawang bagay po ang kailangan natin kapag ka nagko-compute ng margin of safety, yung mismong budgeted sales at saka break-even sales. Start po muna tayo sa break-even sales, no? Kasi alam naman na po natin na ang ating pong, dito magagamit ko yung formula, no? Kasi may given na. So, ang ating break-even point in sales is yung ating pong fixed cost, ito po yun, 195,000. Tapos, i-divide ko sa ating CM ratio. May CM ratio tayong available, 55%. So, madali na lang. Or 0.55. So, ang break-even point in sales po natin would then be 195,000. Ganda ng calculate ko na. 195,000 divided by 0.55. So, this is 354,545. Yung whole number ko na lang. 0.45 pa po kasi. No? So, paano po ba kunin ang margin of safety? So, magsa-start po ako sa budgeted sales. Ang budgeted sales po natin, ang sabi sa problem is 11,000 units. So, 11,000 units multiplied by the selling price of, ayun po, kita natin 100. magkano po ito? 11,000 times 100. So this gives you 1,100,000. Okay? Tapos, nililess po natin ang break-even point in sales. Ito po yun, 354,545. So, makukuha nyo po is margin of safety. Okay? Ano nga po yung margin of safety? Gaano kalayo, no, yung ating sales compared with the break-even point. So, mas malayo, mas safe tayo or hindi masyadong risky. Kasi kapag maliit yung margin of safety mo, yung level of sales mo, sobrang lapit sa break-even point mo. No? So, medyo ano ka doon, medyo delikado ka doon. Konting dulas mo sa sales, baka mapunta ka sa break-even point or worse, mapunta ka na less than the break-even point. Okay? So, for this 1,100,000 minus 354,545. So, this is 745,455. Ang hinihingi ng problem, margin of safety ratio. So, i-divide ko po ito pataas. Okay? So, 455 divided by 1,100,000. It falls within 67.77%. Okay, yun na yung sagot natin sa number 2, which can be seen in letter D. Number 3 tayo. Medyo case type yung tanong. Sagutin natin. For number 3, the company is experiencing a potential increase in fixed cost to 270,000. Ang tawag po dito sa number 3 na gagawin natin, may magbabago na, no, at i-check natin yung mga effect ng pagbabago na yon. Ang tawag po dito, what if analysis, or yung tinatawag po natin formally as sensitivity analysis. Yan. Sensitivity analysis po doon, what if may magbago? Diba? What if wala na siya kinabukasan? Di, joke lang. What if may magbago? Paano ka mag-a-adjust? Parang gano'n. So, ano yung effect nun? So, for number 3, ang sabi, wala naman daw change in variable cost. So, from a managerial perspective of maximizing sales revenue at 5,000 units, normal sales level, ano daw po ang action na kailangan natin gawin? So, ang gagawin natin bilang which of the following is the best course of action for the firm if they intend to have the same pre-tax profit margin in respect with sales following this increase in fixed cost? So, ang gustong mangyari, fixed cost is 270,000. So, ito magiging 270,000. Ito pa din daw, 5,000 units. Tapos, 16% pa din ang pre-tax income. So, ganun ulit. Sales minus variable cost, CM minus fixed cost, operating income before tax. Ang gustong mangyari, fixed cost now becomes 270,000. Tapos, same pa din, ay dapat daw po ang iyong pre-tax profit margin, 16%. Okay? Tapos, dapat daw makabenta ka ng 5,000 units. Ang tinatanong, ano ang adjustment na gagawin natin? Okay? So, meron na po tayong information actually sa CM kasi alam na po nating 55% siya, di ba? So, ilalagay ko po dito, 55%. So, the easiest way for you to go back to 100% is through these components. Gitnaan eh. CM mo 55%, tapos this is 16%. So, tanggalin natin yung negative, baka malito. Hindi siya negative ha. Oo. Representation lang kasi siya. Sorry, so tanggalin natin yan. Okay? So, 55 minus 16. So, 55 minus 16, parang ang dating, ang fixed cost mo nire-represent ng 39%. Sabi ko nga po sa inyo, yung mga ganitong cases, pag may magkatabi na whole number at saka percentage, makakabalik ka sa 100%. So, pwede natin gawin yon. 270,000 divided by 0.39, that gives you a sales level of 692,308. Okay? So, para daw po magkaroon tayo ng 16% na profit margin, dapat 39% ang magre-represent ng fixed cost in respect with sales. So, 270,000 divided by 0.39, lalabas po yung 692,308. Ang tinatanong ay ano po ang kaya ang pwede natin gawin. Well, in the interest of time, pwede na nating i-try diretsuhin. So, let's say for example, yung 692,308 na yan is i-divide natin sa 5,000 units, magkano kaya ang magiging selling price natin? Okay? So, magkakaroon ka ng bagong selling price because of this effect. So, dinivide ko, 692,308 divided by 5,000, may lalabas na bagong selling price na dapat daw maibenta mo siya for 138.46. Parang ganon. No? So, kung susundin natin to, yun nga lang kasi, yun lang kasi yung given sa atin sa problem. Pero kung tutuusin ang mangyayari dyan, kung selling price mo magbabago, tapos hindi nagbago actually yung variable cost mo, yung CM ratio mo actually yung magbabago. Pero sensitivity analysis lang naman to. So, the closest in the problem that we can have for that is, kung ang selling price mo ay 100, tapos nalaman mo na maintaining the same CM ratio na 55%, no, yun kasi gusto mo i-maintain to eh. Gusto mo i-maintain tong 55%, kailangan daw ang maging selling price mo is 138.46. So tataas ng 38.46% ang magiging selling price mo. Nearest po siya sa letter C. The entity would have to increase the selling price of each unit by around 39% if they intend to sell 5,000 units, maintaining a CM ratio of 55%. So eventually, may gagalaw dyan kahit sa variable cost, parang gano'n, no? So, yun po. Anyway, yun pa lang naman yung context ng problem. So, this is letter C. Okay? At yan po ang ating problem number 3. Dito po tayo mag-problem number 4 sa side na ito. Okay. Problem number 4 is activity-based costing. The LSRFM plant has two categories of overhead: maintenance and inspection. Costs expected for these categories are given. So maintenance 100,000, inspection 150. The plant currently applies overhead using direct labor hours. So naka-traditional costing daw sila. 50,000 direct labor hours. Pero kapag ka po isang job, ito daw po yung proposal, direct materials na 1,000, direct labor 4,000, gagamit ng 500 machine hours for inspections and 800 machine hours. Kung sakali na mag-activity-based costing, the expected machine hours for all jobs is 25,000. Tapos, lahat naman ng inspections na mangyayari is 1,500 inspections. Ang tanong sa number 1, what will be the total cost for the job if this would be based on appropriate activity drivers using activity-based costing? So, gagawa ka muna ng predetermined overhead rates per activity. Let's start with maintenance. So, sa maintenance natin mga kapatid ay 100,000. At ibabase po natin siya sa, ano po yung magiging cost driver natin dito? Yung sinabi po na expected machine hours for all jobs is 25,000. So, ilalagay ko po dito 25,000 machine hours. Okay? So, 100,000 divided by 25,000 machine hours, that gives you 4 pesos per machine hour. Okay? Ang next naman po natin is yung ating inspection. Ang inspection natin, 150,000. I-divide naman natin sa lahat ng pwedeng mangyari inspection, which is 1,500. So, 1,500 inspections. Okay? So, 150,000 divided by 1,500 inspections. This will be 100 per inspection. Okay? So, nagawa na po natin yung ating predetermined overhead rates na naka-per activity. So, sabi po sa problem, yung proposed job na ito ay makaka 500 machine hours. No? So, for maintenance, 500 machine hours, and then I will multiply it by 4. Okay? So, 500 times 4, that gives you 2,000. Tapos sa inspection, ay, ilan daw po? 4 inspections. Times, magkano per inspection? 100. So, this is 400. Kaso, pag sinagot mo 2,400, letter A, mamamali ka. Kasi ang tinatanong po sa atin, total cost of the job. So, kailangan kasama si materials and labor. Okay? So, may materials po tayo na 1,000 at saka labor na 4K. So, total po natin 2,000 plus 400 plus 1,000 plus 4,000, all in all, 7,400. Ang total cost of the job pag naka-activity-based costing, and that can be seen in letter C. Sagutin naman natin yung pangalawa. Yung pangalawa po, ang sabi naman sa atin, kung sakaling naka-traditional, direct labor hours lang. So, kunin nyo yung buo nito together. 100 tsaka 150. So, ang ating total overhead ay 250,000. I-relate nyo lang po sa 50,000 direct labor hours all in all. No? So, 50,000 na direct labor hours. Okay? So, ang ating pong predetermined overhead rate under traditional costing ay 5 pesos per direct labor hour. Tapos, nakailan pong direct labor hour for that, makakailan po for that specific job? 800. So, 800 direct labor hours times 5, that is 4,000. Tapos, materials and labor, so prime cost, diretso ko na, prime cost, 5,000. Okay? So, 4 plus 5, 9,000. Yung 9,000 po can be seen also in letter C. Okay? Tapos, and this has been our problem 4. Proceed po tayo ng problem number 5. Problem number 5 po ay standard costing. Yung materials tsaka labor, medyo kayang-kaya nyo naman yun. No? So, for problem number 5, we will be focusing on overhead. Steven Company uses a standard cost system for its production process. Steven applies overhead based on direct labor hours. Okay? So, tandaan po natin yun kasi kailangan natin yun mamaya. Meron po tayong standard cost card information sa taas ng konti. Lahat ng actual nasa baba. So, referring to the June operations of Steven Company, provide all necessary overhead variances. 4321. Ang gagawin natin, lahat ng 4321 variances, kukumputin ko using one standard formula. Okay? Para hindi na rin kayo nalilito. Baka na-discuss na rin sa inyo yun, no, at some point. Actual, BAAH or BAA, parang ganun. And then bash, tapos applied or the standard. So, lalagay natin actual variable overhead plus actual fixed overhead. So, yung purely actual natin magkasama. Ito yung actual. Tapos, ang next natin, budget at actual hours or actual level of activity. So, your variable overhead rate multiplied by actual activity plus your budgeted fixed overhead. Okay? Ang isusunod mo yung tinatawag na BASH, budget at standard hours or standard activity. So, variable overhead rate multiplied by standard activity, pero yun pa rin po budgeted fixed overhead. Lastly, yung standard natin, which is also your applied overhead, no? So, variable overhead rate times standard activity, ito po yun, plus fixed overhead rate times standard activity. Yan. Okay? So, actual, BAA, BASH, applied. 4321 yung isosolve natin. Unahin natin yung given sa problem, no? So, unahin natin ito. Tinatanong tayo ng actual variable overhead. Your actual variable overhead is 29,950. So, lalagay ko dito, 29,950. Ang actual fixed overhead mo naman is 42,300. So, together, kumpitin mo na together, that would be 29,950 plus 42,300. This gives you 72,250. Okay. Next, variable overhead rate at actual level of activity. So our variable overhead rate, ang sabi sa standard, variable overhead per hour is 2.5. So lalagay ko dito 2.5 times ano yung actual nating direct labor hours. Kasi sabi, Steven applies overhead based on direct labor hours. So, our direct labor hours here is 8,800. So, multiply ko siya ng 8,800. So, 2.5 times 8,800, this is 22,000. Ngayon, yung budgeted fixed overhead natin, paano kukunin? Kasi ang sabi dito sa standard, your fixed overhead per hour was based on 11,990 direct labor hours. Ang budgeted fixed overhead ay galing sa, from the word itself, budgeted, ibig sabihin galing sa pinlano. What was planned during the period. So, if your fixed overhead per hour of 3 pesos per hour was based on 11,990 direct labor hours, yun yung pinlano during the period. So, yun yung ilalagay mo as your budgeted fixed overhead. So, for your budgeted fixed overhead, it will be your 3 times 11,990. Okay? So, 3 times 11,990, 35,970. Okay? So, together, ito po ay 22,000 plus 35,970, 57,970. Okay. Next naman po natin is variable overhead rate at standard level of activity. So, yung pa rin po, 2.5. Pero ano po yung standard hours allowed natin? Now, the problem tells you that we actually have 4,400 units produced, no? 4,400. So, paano kunin to, no? 4,400 units. Tapos, ilan po ba yung sinasabi ng standard na allowed for direct labor hours? Ang sabi po, the direct labor hours per unit na gagamitin mo lang daw po dapat in 1 unit is 2.2 hours. So, i-multiply mo po siya ng 2.2. Okay? So, 4,400 times 2.2, that is 9,680 hours. So, yun yung gagamitin kong pang-multiply dito. Yun yung standard level of activity natin. Na allowed ng standard, 9,680. Okay? So, 2.5 times 9,680, that gives you 24,200. Yung budgeted fixed overhead ko, kopyahin mo na lang, 35,970. Okay? Tapos, 24,200 plus 35,970, that gives you 60,170. Okay? Tapos, kukopyahin mo lang uli ito kasi ito po yan, variable overhead rate at standard activity, 24,200. Paano naman po ito? Your fixed overhead rate is actually 3, di ba? Standard activity mo ito, 9,680. Okay? So, 9,680 times 3, that gives you 29,040. Okay? Add them together, this is 53,240. Pag lahat po yan ay nakaready na, pwede ka nang mag 3 to 1 way. Unahin po natin ang 3-way. So, purely actual na 72,250 minus 57,970, this gives you 14,280. Okay? This is your spending variance. No? Spending variance at mas mahal, so unfavorable. Dito naman, this is your efficiency variance. So, 57,970 minus 6170. So this is 57,970 minus 6170. Tama. 2,200. And then mas mura po ito. In that case, this is favorable. Okay? And then for your volume variance, this is 6170 minus 53,240. This is 6,930 and this is unfavorable. Okay. Basically, sa nanggaling, kasi yung binudget mo is 35,970 pero ang ina-allow lang ng standard na magamit mo for fixed overhead ay 29,040. Binudget mo mas malaki, 35,970. Kaya nag-unfavorable ito. Okay? So, ito po yung 3-way. Pag 2-way ka, dito ka na, diretso ka sa bash. Diba? No? So, 72,250 minus 6170. This is your budget variance of 12,080. Okay? And this is also unfavorable. Ang two-way na volume variance, same lang po, 6,930, unfavorable. Tapos, yung one-way variance mo, dito na mismo, end-to-end, actual versus standard. So, 72,250 minus 53,240. This is the one-way variance, 19,010, unfavorable. Okay. Ngayon, paano naman kunin yung four-way galing dito sa mga ito? So, kukunin mo lang po si actual variable overhead na 29,950. Tapos yung variable overhead at actual na 22,000. Ito na po yung variable overhead mo na spending variance. Okay? 29,950 minus 22,000, this is 7,950, unfavorable. Okay? Tapos ang isusunod mo, ito rin, variable din yan. So 24,200. So 24,200, ito naman po yung ating variable overhead efficiency variance. Okay? So 7,950, 22,000 minus 24,200, this is 2,200 favorable. Ang four-way variance na efficiency ay equal lang din naman po sa efficiency variance sa three-way. So magpapareho lang po yan, 2,200. Sa fix naman po natin, ito po yung actual fix natin, 42,300. Ko-compare mo sa budgeted, so either of the two, pareho lang naman yan, 35,970. Okay? This is your fixed overhead spending variance. So 42,300 minus 35,970, this gives you 6,330, unfavorable. Tapos ito po yung purely standard, yung 29,040. This is your fixed overhead volume variance. Okay, so 35,970 minus 29,040, this gives you 6,930. It's also unfavorable. Tapos ipag tinry mo, so ito po yung parehong di ba? Ito yung parehong spending variance, di ba? So pag-addin mo, 7,950 unfavorable plus 6,330 unfavorable, 14,280 unfavorable, yung total mong spending variance. Ito po yun. Okay? Tapos yung efficiency variance po natin, yun nga po, nabanggit natin, sa three-way, 2-2 favorable, sa 4-way yun din po dapat ang lalabas. Okay? Tapos ang volume variance po natin na 6,930, yun po yung volume variance ng fixed overhead sa 4-way. Okay? So ganyan po mag-compute ng ating mga overhead variances. Kung sana po ay hindi na tayo matakot sa mga problem about overhead variance. Let's do problem number 6 mga kapatid. Ang ating problem number 6 ay isang tanong tungkol sa dropping a product line or a segment at kung sakaling ano pa po yung ibang mangyayari kung sakaling i-drop yung segment na yon, ano ang magiging effect sa profit, no? So ang sabi dito, so we have three divisions, no, B, G, and C, and number one consideration, all of our allocated cost will continue even if a division is discontinued. Ganoon naman po talaga, di ba? Kapag common allocated fixed cost, usually kahit may i-drop ka na segment, hindi po yun mawawala talaga. Hindi siya totally may eliminate. Ano lang po yung usually na nai-eliminate natin na fixed cost? Yung directly attributable or traceable, controllable dun sa segment na yun. Tapos kapag inalis mo siya, eventually, maaalis po din yung fixed cost na yun. Okay? The company allocates indirect fixed cost based on the number of units sold, and then pinag-iisipan nilang tanggalin si product G dahil daw po nagne-net loss. Okay? So, kung sakali daw po na alisin si Division G, ang mangyayari daw po ay Division B sales will increase by 20% and Division C na operations would stay the same. Okay, so this is problem number 6. Okay, ang pinakaunang consideration po natin kapag nagsisipa tayo, nag-drop ng product line ay yung lost CM pag tinanggal mo yung isang product line. Kasi syempre mawawala yung product line na yon, so automatically yung contribution margin niya mawawala. Okay, so ilalagay po natin dito is lost CM dun po sa elimination ni product G. So si segment G po has revenue of 50,000 at siya rin po ay may variable cost na 26,000. So this leads us into a lost CM of 24,000. The impact on income would then be negative, no? So kasi lost CM yan. So ima-minus ko siya. Okay? Pangalawang consideration po ninyo kapag ka nagda-drop ng product line is syempre meron pong nakakabit sa kanya na directly attributable fixed cost na kasama niyang mawawala pag inalis ang product line na yon. Okay? So in our case here, may direct fixed cost po tayong 19,000. So magkakaroon po tayo ng direct fixed cost savings. Savings na po yon, no? So ipa-positive naman natin dito. 19,000. Okay? So, ito po ang ating magiging net CM lost. Or net effect no, on profit. O, net effect na lang. Okay? So, ang net effect natin ay negative 24 pero positive 19, 5,000. Net effect pa lang po yan ng pagre-remove mo kay product G. Pero ang sabi, the company thinks that if the division is closed, the sales of division B will increase by 20%. So, ang gagawin po natin, yung increase no in sales ni product B, kailangan nating lagyan ng 20% effect. So, idediretso mo na sa CM, wag na sa sales muna, no? Sa CM na. 70,000 minus 32,000 gives you 38,000. So, yung CM ni B na 38,000, mag-increase daw ng 20%. So, kunin mo yung increase na yon na 20%. So, 38,000 times 0.2, meron tayong positive na 7,600. Okay? So, the net effect on profit or the net impact on profit basically is positive 2,600. Okay? So, parang ang dating, if your net income is 21,000 and then upon elimination of G, mangyayari lahat ng bagay na ito. So, i-add mo yung 2,600. So, magiging 23,600 yung income. So, yung old net income natin, 21,000. Tapos, after removal of G, 2,600. So, magiging 23,600 po. Ang bagong net income ng firm pag tinanggal po natin si product G. Ngayon, incremental analysis po kasi ito. Kung gusto nyo, analysis by totals pero medyo matrabaho. Yung analysis by totals naman po is gagawa ka ng income statement as if wala na si product G. Okay? So let's start with your revenue. Okay? So magiging B and C na lang po ito tapos may total. Okay? So sa B, yung 70,000 iaangat mo ng 20%. So 70,000 times 1.2, this is 84,000. Tapos walang mangyayari sa revenue ni C, which is still 40,000. Okay? So 84 plus 40,000 is total revenue of 124,000. I-minus po natin ang variable cost. Ang variable cost po ay nakadepende sa level of sales in units. So dapat tataas din siya. So for B, 32,000 times 1.2, that gives you 38,400. Okay? Tapos si C walang magbabago, 16,000. Okay? So 38,400 at saka 16,000 total variable cost, 54,400. Okay? So ito po yung ating bago magiging CM. Okay? So 84,000 minus 38,400. This gives us 45,600. And then 40 minus 16, ganun pa din. No? So 40 minus 16 is a CM of 24,000. Which leads us to 124,000 minus 54,400. This is 69,600. Okay. Ang una po natin i-minus yung direct fixed cost. No? So minus direct fixed cost. Dahil directly attributable po yan, yun pa rin naman po yun. So kay B, it will be 14,000. And kay C, it is 12,000. Okay? So 14 plus 12, that gives you 26,000. Okay. Tapos minus po natin yung common allocated fixed cost. Now, sa common allocated fixed cost, it was mentioned in the problem that the common fixed cost is allocated based on the number of units sold. Si B, ang unit sold po kasi niya ay 3,000, pero di ba tataas po ng 20% yung sales niya kapag ka naalis si segment G. So, ang gagawin nyo po, iaangat nyo din dapat bago mag-allocate. 3,600 po yan. Okay? Tapos si C, 2,000 pa din. So, all in all, 5,600. So, kapag ka nag-allocate ka ng common allocated fixed cost, na magkano po ba yun? 20,000. So, yung 20,000 na common allocated fixed cost, i-allocate mo kay B at saka kay C. So, kay B, 20,000 times 36 over 56. 36 over 56. So, 12,857. Kay C naman, 20,000 times 20 over 56. 7,143. So, yan po yung minus natin. So, kay B, 12,857 at saka 7,143. Yun pa rin po yung 20,000. Okay? So, this will be the net income of the firm after i-remove si product G. And that would be 45,600 minus 14,000 minus 12,857. That is 18,743. 24,000 minus 12,000 minus 7,143. This gives you 4,857. So 69,600, 26,000 at saka 20,000, 23,600. Nakuha din po natin yung 23,600 na bagong net income ng firm, no? So ito po yung differential analysis niya na mas kailangan yung gamitin kapag ka-examination kasi kulang ang time nyo. Pero kung may time naman kayong mag-solve ng full approach, pwede rin naman pong ganito. So na-prove natin that the income will increase by 2,600 pag sinipa po natin si product. Pwede na po akong dumiretso ba ng problem 7? Hindi, next video po yun. Problem 7 po tayo mga kapatid. Return on investment at saka residual income. So, dalawang case po. So, for the first case, a division manager of a manufacturing company is being evaluated for performance. At the beginning of the year, the division had operating assets of 3 million. So, ang operating assets po natin ay 3 million starting. Tapos, additional investments were made. And at year-end, your total operating assets is 3.6 million. And then, add them together, divided by 2. Your average assets is 3,300,000. Okay? Despite the expansion, the division is able to generate an operating income of 480,000. What will be our return on investment? So for our return on investment, it will simply be your operating income of 480,000 generated from the usage of your average assets of 3,300,000. Then simply divide. Okay? So this gives you 480,000 divided by 3,300,000, 14.55%. Okay, so this is the answer for the first case. Now, for the second one, you are being asked of the residual income. Ano? So, ang residual income po natin, RI, is equals to your operating income minus your minimum required rate of return multiplied by the assets or capital employed. Assets employed. So, pwedeng ganyan, no? Pero dito, naka-breakdown po kasi yung minimum required rate of return per asset na ginamit. So, our operating assets here is your inventory with which is 1 million, worth 1 million, which requires a required return of 10%. So, this is 100,000. And then for your equipment, no, 2 million And the return needed is 15%. So ilan yun? Magkano yun? 2 million times 15%, 300,000. And lastly, for your AR, na 1 million with a required rate of return of 12%, which is 120,000. So ito, what we're getting right now, no, is itong part ng ating calculation, no? So if we add them together, this is 520,000. And then following the formula for your residual income, kasi di ba ang konsepto ng residual income is versus the minimum return that the company wants, no? Magkano po ba ang magiging residual doon if we compare it from the operating income that the firm has? So RI is equals to your operating income, which is 600,000, pero comparing it with the minimum required rate of return on all of your assets minus 520,000, then the answer for this is a 80,000, no, for the second case for problem 7. Okay, so that has been our ROI and RI question. Pwede po tayong dumiretso ng problem number 8 para po sa manufacturing cycle efficiency. Okay, tandaan po natin sa manufacturing cycle efficiency, your MCE will be equal to your productive time over your throughput time. Ano po ang productive time natin? Ang productive time po natin is yun talagang nagkakaroon ng conversion process. Meaning, talaga nako-convert ang raw materials sa finished goods, no? So, yung actual production activities po natin. Ang throughput time naman po natin consists of everything, which is your production, plus I, which is your inspection, M, which is moving, and then Q, which is the Q time, yung pila bago magkaroon ng next step of the production, no? So, minsan, nakakaroon ng question, sir, ano namang ginagawa sa waiting time? Kapag yung waiting time ay related po sa nakapila siya kasi naghihintay siya ng next step ng process, dito po magka-qualify yun sa Q. Pero yung waiting time po na before, no? The wait time before the start of the production, that is not part of your throughput time. Pero, kapag ang tinatanong na po sa atin is your delivery cycle time, your DCT. In this case, kapag delivery cycle time ang tinatanong, that will be your throughput time. Ito po, at i-add mo rin yung wait time. At anong uri ng wait time ito? It is the wait time before production. Okay? So for our case here, tingnan po natin kung ano po ang ating manufacturing cycle efficiency. Parang madilim yung shot. Okay. So, the product spent, di ba sabi ko PIMQ, so lista natin. The product spent 18 hours in actual production activities, 4 hours ng inspection, 3 hours ng moving, 10 hours waiting in queue before processing, no? Pero ang pinaka-productive time lang natin dyan is yung actual production activity. So, yun yung magiging numerator mo. Okay? So, 18 divided by, so ilan po ito? Total natin. Ayoko mag-mental math niyan. 18 plus 4 plus 3 plus 10, this gives you 35. Okay? Yun po. So, 18 divided by 35, this is 0.51. 43, mga 51.43% po. Ngayon, wala naman tinanong sa problem tungkol po sa wait time before production. So, hindi po tayo makakakompute ng delivery cycle time. Pero, ang productive time po natin is 18. And ang throughput time po natin, which is PIMQ, 35. Pag pinag-divide together, yun po yung ating manufacturing cycle efficiency. So, yan po ang ating problem number 8. Let's have problem number 9 po, FS analysis, no? So, more than the ratios na kakabisaduhin, yung technique lang, no? Kung paano natin ninanavigate yung ating mga ratios, and then paano tayo nag-work back para makuha yung sagot. Okay. Selected data from year-end financial statements, Jackfruit Company. The difference between average and ending inventories is immaterial. Okay. Ang tinatanong po sa atin, net sales. So, i-decipher mo yung problem. Kasi, ang sabi, net sales. Tapos may binigay na gross profit margin. Tapos, may binigay din na given sa inventory turnover. Eh, di ba ang inventory turnover, saan din siya related? Sa cost of goods sold. So, kung isipin mo, kompleto yung tatlong magkakapatid sa income statement, net sales, cost of goods sold, tsaka gross profit. So, dapat yung mindset nyo, dun iikot sa problem. Ngayon, baka mag-isip ka, bakit may current ratio tsaka quick ratio? Tandaan po natin ang current ratio, di syempre, involved doon lahat ng current assets. Tapos sa quick ratio, ang involved naman po doon is all of your more liquid assets na hindi kasama ang inventory. So the difference between the two is actually inventory. So dapat doon pa lang maiisip nyo na yung gagawin. So in our case here, meron naman po tayong mga binigay na ratio. I-work back po natin yung mismong current assets at saka quick assets po natin. So this is problem 9. Okay, so for problem 9, ang uunahin natin is, ang sabi, may quick ratio ka daw na 2.0. So may CL ka dyan na 600,000. So, kung may CL ka dyan na 600,000, magkano current assets mo? So multiply mo lang paakyat. 600,000 times 2, 1,200,000. Ganun lang. Kasi 1,200,000 divided by 2, 600,000, di ba? Tapos, quick ratio ka naman. Yung asset test ratio mo, yung quick ratio mo naman, 1.5. Okay? So, CL mo naman, 600,000. Okay? So, 600,000 times 1.5. So, ang quick assets natin ay, dapat pala iba kulay niyan. Ang quick assets mo naman po ay 600 times 1.5, 900,000. So, kung may current assets ka na ang laman ay lahat basically ng current assets mo, 1,200,000. Tapos meron kang quick assets na walang inventory sa loob, no? Na 900,000. This means that your inventory is 300,000. Okay? Actually, pwede nyo rin kunin like this, no? Kasi CR minus QR. Ano po quick ratio mo? 2. Ano ang current ratio mo? 2. Quick ratio mo 1.5. So 2 minus 1.5. CR minus QR 0.5. Okay? So this is CL na 600,000. Ngayon, ano po ba ang difference ng current assets at quick asset? E di syempre inventory. Pwede rin pong ganito, shortcut. So, 600,000 times 0.5, e di ito po, 300,000. Okay? So, kung malikhain kayo sa pag-navigate ng formula, pwede naman din po yan. Maiisip nyo rin po yan. No? So, nakuha po natin 300,000. Now, the problem tells you that the inventory turnover is 8 times. Paano po ba kunin ng inventory turnover? Sabi, may inventory turnover daw po tayo na 8. Inventory turnover is cost of goods sold divided by average inventory. The problem tells you that there is no material difference between the average inventory and the ending inventory. Nakuha po natin yung average inventory na 300,000. So, 300,000 times 8 para makaakyat tayo sa taas. 300,000 times 8, that gives you 2,400,000. Ang tinatanong sa atin, net sales, no? So, net sales minus cost of goods sold will give you your gross profit. Now, the gross profit margin is 40%. Meaning to say, your cost of goods sold is represented by 60%. Meron na po tayong 2,400,000 na cost of goods sold. Okay? So, pag magkatabi po ang component percentage at whole amount, pwede nyo na pong idiretso. So, given that our gross profit margin is 40%, our cost percentage is 60%. Okay? So, 2,400,000 divided by 0.6, that gives you net sales of million. Ito na po ang ating sagot, which can be seen in letter C. Ayun, ang problem number 9 po natin. Diretso po tayo ng problem number 10, no? Sa ating pong, ang tanong po sa problem 10 ay optimum cash balance sa ating pong working capital management. Okay. So, ang tanong sa first question ay, no? Given muna tayo. 2 million invested in treasury bills, ang yield ay 8%, no? It cost 50 pesos to sell these bills. So, what is the optimum amount that should be withdrawn every time? So, C star po iyan, no? Optimum cash transaction level or optimum cash balance. Parang EOQ lang din po iyan. So, gagawin mo, square root of 2 times 2 million. And then it costs, ilan po, magkano to sell these bills? 50 pesos, di ba? For each transaction. And then i-divide nyo po sa yield na 0.0. Okay? So let's do the math. Medyo malalaking numbers yan. So sana yung calcul nyo mga 12 digits. No? So 2 times 2 million times 50 divided by 0.08. So, medyo malaking number, then square root nyo po, ang lalabas ay 50,000. Yan na po yung answer sa unang tanong, no? Which is letter A. Okay? And then for the next question, Argentina needs 167,000 a month. So, how frequently should the CFO sell off the treasury bills? So your transaction needs 167,000 monthly. Monthly po ito, no? Kada transaction ang i-withdrawin mo 50k, so i-divide mo. So ang lalabas dito, ilang beses ka magkakaroon ng transaction sa isang buwan. Kasi ang kailangan mo sa isang buwan 167,000. Kada withdraw mo or kada transaction mo 50,000. So, you need to do 3.34 times ng transaction. Ang tanong, how often? How often? No? Ang tanong, how often? Di ba 30 days ang isang buwan? Standard yan. Kapag finance, di ba? 360 tsaka 30. Pag year, 360. Pagka month, 30. Di ba? So, yung 30 days na yan, 3.34 times magkakaroon ng transaction. So, tuwing ilang araw magkakaroon ng transaction. 30 divided by 3.34, that is 8.98 days. Which is close to 9 days. Okay? So, ang sagot po natin ay letter B. About every 9 days. Ayun, yun ang sagot. B. Okay? So, ayan, ito yung ating example sa FS analysis. Ito po yung optimum cash transaction balance. Next problem po natin yung mga float. Yung mga collection float, disbursement float, tsaka net float. Alright, dito na po tayo mag-problem number 11. Kasya naman pala, no? Sige po. So, ang una po nating tanong sa unang case dito ay the net float, no? May dalawang uri po tayo ng float, yung collection float tsaka disbursement float. Kapag ka po collection float, yung number of days na hinihintay ng company na talagang ma-receive nila, no? Yung collection ng payment from a customer. Kapag ka naman po disbursement float, yun yung number of days na hinihintay ng firm na totally ma-disburse sa kanila completely yung cheque na in-issue nila. Ngayon, ang nangyayari, ang firms mas gusto yung ating pong collection float mapabilis, tas ang disbursement float mapabagal. So, may net effect po yun sa firm, okay? So, Mexico company writes checks averaging 15,000 a day, and it takes 5 days for these checks to clear. So, ang gagawin po natin sa ating first case, 15,000 a day po yung cheque, ha? Tapos, it takes 5 days. So, multiply nyo po ng 5 days yan. 15, 30, 40, 60, 75. So, 75,000. Okay? And then, the firm also receives checks 17,000 per day. Pero, the firm loses 3 days while its receipts are being deposited and cleared. So bago naman nila ma-receive yung daily checks amounting to 17,000, it takes them 3 days, no, yung ating collection flow, no? So 17 times 3, hindi ako marunong mag-multiply ng 17 sa 3. So 17,000 times 3 is 51,000. The net effect of which is 75 minus 51, the net float is 24,000. Okay? Ikukunin nyo lang po yung difference between the collection and disbursement float. So, the answer for our net float is letter A, 24,000. For our second case, what would be the expected annual savings from a lockbox system? So, if you implement a lockbox system, ang nakokolekta daw po nung lockbox ninyo, so ihiwalay ko yan ha, 200 checks per day. Okay, 200 checks per day. On average, it's 500 pesos each, no? So, magkano yung daily transaction natin dyan, no? 200 checks per day, 500 pesos each. So, ang daily transaction natin dyan is 100,000. Tapos, ang sabi, pag gumamit ka na daw po ng lockbox system, it will reduce mailing and processing times by 2 days and kalahating araw respectively. So in total, 2.5 days. So mangyayari, yung 100,000 natin yan, ay i-multiply ko naman sa 2.5. Parang magkakaroon tayo ng reduction in float. No? Parang ganun. Mare-reduce yung float by 2.5 days pag nag-lockbox system. So this is 250,000. Okay? Now, the problem tells you that the annual interest rate is 6%. So, magkano ang magiging annual savings natin when this happens, no? So, ang gagawin mo, yung 250,000 na yun ay i-multiply mo naman dun sa 6%. Okay? So, 250,000 times 6% is 15,000. Okay, and this is your final answer, which can be seen in letter C. Okay, so that has been problem number 11. Problem 12 po tayo. It is a problem on capital budgeting. Swibo Corporation is considering investing in a project. Ang immediate cash outlay po, 100,000. Life of 4 years. So, depreciating it annually is 25,000. Ano? 100,000 divided by 4. Straight line basis daw po, no salvage value. The tax rate is 25% and it requires a return of 10%. Luckily, yung ating po mga present value factors for 10% for year 1, 2, 3, 4 has already been provided in the problem. The income before depreciation is projected as follows. So, ang tanong po sa atin, the cash flow for year 4. Hindi po next cash flow, that is net cash flow. And then the payback period, the present value of the net cash flow, and the profitability index. So it's a good problem no, for us to review the basics of capital budgeting. Okay? Sige po, let's start. Okay. Sa ating pong problem 12, ang unang tanong ay net cash flow for year 4. Pero, kahit year 4 lang yung tinatanong, lahat compute na natin kasi kailangan din naman po natin yung cash flow annually para po sa payback period. So, wala po tayong choice. So, pareho lang naman po for year 1 and 2, yung income before depreciation, tsaka sa 3 and 4. So, mako-compute natin siya eventually, no? Okay, so I'll be showing you 2 ways. Yung isa, income statement way, tapos may ituturo akong shortcut kung paano gagawin. Okay, so dun muna tayo sa income statement way, no? Pagsabayin na natin. So, for year 1 to 2, at saka 3 to 4. Pag income statement way, edi parang dadaan ka sa income statement. So, income before depreciation, income before depreciation, 30,000 for year 1 and 2, and then for year 3 and 4, 40,000. Dahil you will be doing it like an income statement, ibabawas mo yung depreciation annually. Okay? So, for year 1 and 2, it's, for year 1, 2, 3, 4, it's 25,000. Pinagsama ko lang ha, kasi pareho siya, pero annual mo talaga to dapat kukumputin ha. Nagkataon lang pareho siya, kaya magiging pareho ng calculation. Baka i-50,000 yung depreciation ha. Oh, so for year 1 and 2, pareho po, 25,000. Okay? So, lalagay ko dito 25,000, tapos dito 25,000. So, parang ang dating, magkakaroon ka ng income before tax. No? Yan. Okay, earnings before tax, EBT. Okay? So, ito po, simply, it's 5,000 and then this is 40 minus 25, 15,000. Ngayon, dahil income statement approach, i-after tax mo ito. So, idiretso mo i-multiply. If the tax rate of the firm is 25%, so ang after tax mo na effect is 75%. So, i-multiply mo siya both ng 75%. Okay? So, parang earnings after tax po ito. So, 5,000 times 0.75, 3,750. Tapos, 15,000 times 0.75, this is 11,250. So, 11,250. Parang ang dating, earnings after tax po yan. Pero dahil ang depreciation po natin ay non-cash in nature, kapag ka po cash flow ang tinatanong, kailangan mong i-re-add. So, i-re-add natin si depreciation. Okay? So, i-re-add mo si 25,000 na annual depreciation para makakuha ka ng annual cash flow. So, for year 1 and 2, 28,750. For year 3 and 4, 11,250 plus 25,000, it's 36,250. Actually, sa question number 1, masasagot mo na kasi the net cash flow for year 4, ito po, year 4, 36,250. Okay? So, the answer actually is letter D. Yung may sinasabi ako, pwede kayong mag-shortcut dyan, ano, sa ganyan. Ang gagawin mo, yung income before depreciation mo, pag shortcut, ganito ha, yung income before depreciation mo, idediretso mo after tax. Idediretso mo siya after tax, no? So, ang gagawin mo, 30,000, idediretso mong after tax na 75%. Okay? Same din dito, 40,000, excuse me, then multiply mo ng 75%. So, i-after tax mo siya diretso. So, in this case, 30,000 times 0.75, 22,500. Tapos yun sa kabila, 40,000 times 0.75 is 30,000. Tapos meron po tayong tinatawag na DTS. Ano po yung DTS? No? Depreciation Tax Savings. Ibig sabihin, yung depreciation, di ba, pinang-minus po natin siya sa income. Tapos yung income na yun is bawas ng depreciation, tsaka siya sinasubject sa tax. So, kunin mo yung effect nun na nakakatipid ka sa tax because of depreciation. Parang ganun, no? So, di ba, annual depreciation mo, 25,000. Tapos, ang tax rate mo, 25%. O, kunin mo yan. Yan yung depreciation tax savings mo. So, 25,000 times 0.25, that gives you 6,250. I-add mo yung depreciation tax savings. 6,250. Add 6,250. Lalabas din po yung for year 1 and 2, 22,500 plus 6,250, 28,750. Okay? Tapos dito po, 36,250. Yan, pareho lang, di ba? 28,750, 36,250. So, either of the two, kung saan po kayo sanay, ito, parang income statement ang approach, ito, diretso. I-after tax mo yung cash flow, tapos i-add mo yung depreciation tax savings. Okay? Sige po, we're done with number 1. Tapos lahat po ng cash flow, no, for year 1, 2, 3, 4 na ihanda naman po natin, which leads us to the computation for number 2. So, okay na po tayo sa number 1. Let's have your number 2. Ang tinatanong naman po sa number 2, payback period. So, undiscounted cash flows ka muna. Kailangan mo lang yung mismong annual cash flow. So, at year 0, naglabas ka ng outlay na 100,000. So, negative 100,000. Tapos, year 1, may papasok na 28,750. Okay? So, 100,000 minus 28,750, that gives you 71,250. Second year, may papasok uli sa firm na inflow 28,750. So, minus ko ulit 28,750. This is 40,500. Third year, may papasok na po sa firm na 36,250. So, 36,250. So, ma-minus mo dun. Remaining na lang is 6,250. Tapos, di ba sa payback period, tignan mo yung year kung saan biglang magpa-positive na ano mo na bawi mo na yung puhunan. Parang ganon, ano? So, year 4, another 36,250. Okay? So, ang mangyayari, pag minus mo yung 36,250, magpa-positive na siya 30,000. So, ibig sabihin, yung payback period mo is within 3 to 4 years, no? So, kunin mo yung 3 plus itong 6,250 over itong 36,250. Okay? So, 6,250 divided by 36,250 plus 3. This is 3.17 years for your payback period, which can be seen in letter B. Okay. Next, number 3. Ang tinatanong naman po sa inyo sa number 3 ay present value, no, of the project's net cash flow. Yan po yung unang member of the equation na kinukuha po natin kapag ka nagko-compute ng net present value. Diba? Your net present value, paano ba siya kunin? Your net present value is what? The present value of future cash flows versus your initial investment. This is how you get your net present value. Ang tinatanong sa problem is the first member of the equation, not the present value of future cash flow. So, meron tayong year 1, year 2, year 3, at saka year 4. Okay? So, ang year 1 mo po na cash flow is yung 28,750. Year 2 mo rin, 28,750. Year 3 mo is 36,250. Year 4 mo, 36,250. Luckily, the problem already gave you your present value factor. So, you simply multiply. For year 1, it was given to you already in the problem, 0.909. For year 2, 0.826. For year 3, 0.751. And for year 4, 0.683. Okay? So, just allow me to do the math first for this, okay? So, 28,750, sabay-sabay tayo, times 0.909. This is 26,133.75. Okay? Next naman po, 28,750 times 0.826. This gives you 23,747.5. For third year, 36,250 times 751. This is 27,223.75. And the last one, 36,250 times 0.683. That gives you 24,758.75. Tsaka mo kunin yung total. Yan yung hinahanap sa problem. The present value of future cash flows. Okay? So in our case here, 26,133.75 plus 23,747.5 plus 27,223.75 plus 24,758.75. Okay? So the answer is 863.75. Yan na po yung sagot for number 3, which can be seen in letter C. Ngayon, kung pagkukumpitin kayo ng net present value, so ima-minus nyo lang naman po yung initial investment na 100,000. Eventually, the answer is a positive 1,863.75 as your net present value. However, for number 4, you are being asked of the profitability index. Magkapatid na, ang tawag dito, concept lang naman yan kasi ang net present value, pinang-minus mo silang dalawa. The present value of future cash flows and your initial investment. Pero, kapag ka naman po profitability index, the one is your numerator, the other one will be your denominator. Okay? So, dito, ang numerator mo, itong 101,863.75. I-divide mo dun sa initial investment na 100,000. Okay? So, 101,863.75 divided by 100,000 falls within 1.018, which is roughly equal to 1.02, which can be seen in letter C. Ayan. So, yan po ang ating problem on capital budgeting. Let's have problem number 13. magko-compute po tayo ng weighted average cost of capital. Okay, so for 13, ang sabi, ang capital structure daw po is 60% debt. And then 40% daw po as to common stock. So 60-40 lang, madali lang, di ba? So, unang bullet point ang sabi, before tax yield to maturity on the company's bonds is 8%. So, dyan po natin kukunin yung ATCOD, AT code. Ano ba yung AT code? After tax cost of debt. Okay? So, your cost of debt is 8% before tax. So, simply, ang gagawin mo, excuse me, if the tax rate is 40%, so pag i-after tax mo siya, 60%. So, multiply mo siya ng 60%. Okay? So, 8% times 60%, this is 4.8%. Okay? Next naman po, for your cost of common equity. Okay? Ang gagamitin po natin, yung tinatawag po natin Gordon Growth Model. Okay? Kasi sabi dito, the company's common stock is expected to pay 3 pesos dividend at year end, which is D sub 1. Ibig sabihin, expected to pay pa lang, no? So, hindi siya D sub 0, D sub 1 siya, no? And then the dividend is expected to grow at a constant rate of 7% and the stock currently sells for 60. Paano nga po ba yung dividend growth model? Your cost of common equity, which is D sub 1, no? Yung atin pong dividend to be expected. And then over P sub 0, which is the price, plus the growth rate. Okay? Tawag po dyan, dividend growth model. So, ang dividend daw po na expected is 3 all over your P sub 0, which is 60. And then, i-add nyo po yung growth rate. Constant rate of growth is 7%. So, 0.07. Okay? So, let's try dividing. So, 3 divided by 60 gives you 0.05 plus 0.07, so 0.12. So, this is 12%. Okay? And then, simply multiply them by the weights. So, ito po yung after-tax cost of debt natin. So, 4.8% is attributable to 60%. Okay? So, magkano po yan? 4.8% at 60% is 2.88%. Okay? Tapos, yung ating pong 12% naman for equity is 40%. So, 12% times 40%, that is 4.8% naman. So, pag-addin mo together, that will be 2.88 plus 4.8, that gives you 7.68%, which can be seen in letter D. Ayan. So, that's our problem for weighted average cost of capital. Diretso na po tayo sa ating last problem, yung ating pong capital asset pricing model, CAPM. Okay. So, for our first bullet point, so for number 1, let's just label it 1 and 2. If treasury bills yield 10%, ano po ibig sabihin nun? Di ba treasury bills, yan po yung mga risk-free natin, no? Na mga securities. So, if treasury bills yield 10%, so the risk-free rate is 10%. Okay? Alpha Company's expected return for next year, so R sub I, this is 18%. Okay? And the beta is 2. So, beta coefficient for risk is 2. What is the market's expected return for next year? So, R sub M ang hinahanap ng problem. Okay? Assume that the capital asset pricing model applies and everything is in equilibrium. So, R sub I is equals to R sub F plus beta multiplied by R sub M minus R sub F. Okay? Our expected rate of return is 18% and then the risk-free rate is 10%. With a beta of 2, ang hinahanap natin R sub M minus your R sub F of 10%. Okay? Then you just do it mathematically. So this is 18% is equals to 10% plus 2 multiplied to RM. So, ganyan na yung lalabas. Minus 20%. Okay? And then 18% is equals to negative 10%. Saan galing? 10 minus 20. So, negative 10%. Plus 2 sub R sub M. Transpose to the other side. So, magiging 28%. Nakuha po ba? Magpa-positive yan, di ba? So, 28% is equals to 2 multiplied by RM. Ang hinahanap po natin ay yung market rate of return. Market rate of return. So, divide both sides by 2. R sub M is 14%. Okay? So, our answer for the first bullet point is 14%. Now, for the second one, ang sabi, assuming that the CAPM applies, the market expected return, so R sub M is 13%. Then the risk-free rate is 8%. And the required rate of return, R sub I, is 16%. The question is, what is the stock's beta coefficient? So, parang ganito lang din gagawin natin. Kukunin natin yung gitna. So, R sub I is equals to R sub F plus beta multiplied by R sub M minus R sub F. So, this is 16%. And then your R sub F is 8%. Nawawala yung beta. Market rate of return is 13% and the risk-free rate is 8%. Ano nga po rin tawag dito sa difference ng dalawa? Yung ating pong market risk premium or market premium dito po. Okay? So, 16% is equals to 8% plus, ano po ito? 13 minus 8, so 5. So, 5% beta. Okay? Transpose mo to the other side, so magiging negative 8. So, 8% na lang din siya. Diba? 16 minus 8 is 8. Is equals to 5% beta. Divide both sides by 5%. Okay? What will be your beta? 8 divided by 5 lang po. So, 8 divided by 5 is beta of 1.6. Alright. At dyan po nagtatapos, no, ang atin pong collection of problems ng strategic cost management at saka ng financial management. So, mga MS problems po ito kung tutuusin, management services sa CPA board exam. Sana po makatulong po sa inyong mga preparations, whatever examination that is. Ito pong mga collection of problems natin. Sana po na-refresh kayo sa mga topics na dapat alam nyo. And mag-serve po siya as checklist na parang, dapat ito alam ko na. At ito yung mga hindi ko pa alam. Pero, wag po mag-focus lang dito, explore and explore and explore, practice and practice and practice problems. Maraming salamat po. Have a nice day. God bless po sa inyo lahat.